Okay, Sam, good morning. Seems like as good a day as any to get going. This is your father's watch. Important watch to you. It had a significant amount of water damage inside. It has some dial peppering. There isn't a thing I can do about that. That's what you know, but we are going to do relooming. Case is nice, bezel's nice. So yeah, we got water in there. I can see your paw lever moving, and the reduction wheel is turning, so that's something. I know you've got I know your budgetary cap on this, and I'll do my best to stay within that. If I can save a part, I'll do it. I'll do what we can. I'll do all that we can. Okay, let's get into it. I'm hopeful that a lot of this stuff is going to be sitting on this surface. You can see this stuff. I'm just touching it. It's coming off. And it's shiny underneath. That's really good news. I mean, the winding weight was really rough, so there's probably. I mean, I can clean it, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, look, this stuff is just on the surface. Okay, that's good news. Just on the surface. If I can just do some corrosion remediation and save these parts, that would be fantastic. Okay. A couple things, by the way. So this watch had that particular thing that happens sometimes where the screws have all loosened up. And that happens every now and then. Another thing, I just pulled the stem, and you can see that right on the section here for the winding pinion, it's got some corrosion on it. I've seen much worse. We'll see how that goes. Onward and upward. Okay, so it looks like towards the end, he was things were loosening up, and he was pushing the buttons real hard to try to get it to reset. And so you can see this button. That shaft is warped. Whoops. But I'm going to be able to, I can straighten it. That's not a real big deal. A little bit of corrosion on it, but I've seen worse. This one has some impacted corrosion on it, but I'll be able to get that. Where is it? Where's the other one that has it? There it is. I should be able to get that off there. Dial is... Now those little black marks, where you see the white stuff, these things, that's loom. That's loom that liquefied and then stuck to the dial. The little black marks, you have all this corrosion, little things in here, and so that is where oxygen was able to get through the dial surface, the clear coat, and patina underneath. There isn't a thing I can do about it, but I'm going to clean it all. You can see there's hazing and marking on the tops of these chrome markers here. When I reloom this, I'll clean all that off, and it'll definitely look improved. Like you see all the little white spots and weird stuff here on the Seiko. I'll deal with that. So I still haven't found your minute counter hand. It's somewhere. I'm going to be curious to see if I find it when I pull off this dial. And your hands, the metal surface actually looks okay. It's not really pitted. They're just hazy. This one lost most of its loom, but I'll clean them up. We'll see how it goes. Okay, we're getting into it. It's not as bad as I feared. I mean, you've got all kinds of, these are the operating levers here. They operate the clutch. So, I mean, I've certainly seen worse. That's surface stuff. And it looks like, I guess that looks to me like your chronograph wheel is good. I'll know more about that in a second. Sorry about all the background noise, by the way. I have all the cleaners going. I'm having to do a lot of hand cleaning, hand remediation, and extra runs through the ultrasonic. There we go. Pretty clean. We don't have a whole lot of the S2 lubricant coming out here. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. One of the things I had originally quoted you on was assuming that worst case scenario we were going to have to replace your train bridge, but if I can get this to clean out, man, that's going to be okay. If I can just make it. The big thing is I can't leave it so that anything is on the surface that could come off. Because any of this stuff that comes loose gets into the movement, then we've got all kinds of problems. So everything's got to be spotless. So more good news. I was able to, this is only a preliminary clean, and it doesn't look very clean because I'm only hand cleaning. So I'm working to get the rust off of this, and it's coming pretty well clean. I need to get some more off of there, but everything freed up and I don't see any major damage. But the best part is that your wheels are all good. No pinion damage that I can see. Pinions look clean, I think. Yeah, that looks fine. Your escape wheel. You can see the little fine points on there. There was a spot of rust on this, but it came right off. I just touched it and it came off. There's your pallet fork. And the big win is your chronograph wheel. Chronograph wheel is good. And that's great. There wasn't a piece of filth on it, nothing. I haven't cleaned this or done a thing to it. It is good. And that is a huge win. That's a huge, huge win. That's great. Okay, onward and upward. Oh, one interesting thing, looking at the train bridge, by the way, is this right here, this is the upper bushing for the mainspring barrel. The weird thing is that it's not in the right position. It's sunk down. So I'm going to have to restake that and put that back in place, but it's a weird error to see. I don't see a lot of wear on this part either. I mean, the bushing looks basically new, which is pretty crazy. I want to, I guess we can let's pull the mainspring barrel. And let's see what it looks like underneath. Actually, let me do this first. Hang on a second. Let me put these in here. Get them out of the way so I don't smash them. There's that. It's a little wear. It's clean. Yeah, it's ovaled out. I mean, that's real typical. I mean, what do I expect? But it's not dirty at all. I wonder, did he have it serviced like right before it died or something? Interesting. Okay, well, I think the upper bushing is fine. I just need to move it where it's supposed to go. It's got to be, it shouldn't be down like that. It should be flush with this surface. And that lower mainspring arbor port is ovaled out. So that'll need to get dealt with. But really, you know, it's amazing. So far, I have not seen very many fully dead parts. In fact, none so far. I do have some extra time in just doing remediation, cleaning off corrosion, but so far it's okay. I guess let's look inside the barrel here. How about that? That'd be fun. Everybody likes doing that. Everybody wants to see inside the barrel. If I can get this done. Ah, there we go. Let's find out together, shall we? There's the barrel. See, normally I would see all this black S2 grease coming out the side there, but there's the S2 grease. You can see it around the edge and on top of the mainspring. It's all that gray stuff. But the mainspring is shiny under that. Huh. That's ground down. That surface, that's not deadly, it's just one of those things. So I'll pull that and we'll see. Okay, so far so good. Whew. Well, been a long day, but here's some basics. See, look at how nice and clean it came out. Isn't that great? Isn't it so nice to see things become clean? Hang on just one sec. I want to get this train bridge out. Oh, would you stop fighting me? Hey, yeah, look, it's Look at that, huh? Look at that. Super shiny and clean. A little bit of staining here and there, but man, I call that a decent result. So basically, as far as I can tell, we don't have a single bad part. I was able to, nothing was terribly damaged, and the ones that were impacted, I was able to save and clean. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, that's awesome. Yep, that looks great. I don't think this thing had a lot of miles before the seals failed. Started working on your dial. It's clean and reloomed. No, I'm sorry, it's clean. I have not reloomed it yet, but we are getting on there. Okay, well, let's get to work. So one of the things I like to do when I'm getting ready to do assembly is I like to actually put the DiaShock settings in top and bottom. That way it gives me a chance to really, I can just go like this, and I can see, and having everything off gives me a nice chance to see how the hairspring is sitting, if the balance is in plane, if the hairspring is in plane. I mean, I have a balance holder, a balance tool to look at things, but it's really nice to be able to see it from all angles, so I can see it, see how it's doing. And it can just roll back and forth, and I can see how it looks. This looks pretty good. I don't really think that this watch had much of any real wear on it. I mean, it's kind of crazy, like how pristine the plate is, especially on the other side, like the calendar stuff. There's lots of places where I normally would see it worn down to the brass, even on good condition movements, and this doesn't even show that. Good stuff. Okay. Yeah, you see, normally we would see, normally we would see a lot of places on here that are just worn to brass, like these sort of support rings right here, right there, around here, that would be worn down to brass, and it looks pretty clean, so that's good. So here's what I'm talking about. So this is the calendar side. So normally you've got an intermediate gear here. There's the minute wheel goes there. The hour wheel fits over here. This is the date driving wheel that's going to be right here. There's the intermediary date driving wheel. Normally, these raised ridges, which support the gears and keep them level and plane, the tops of these can be terribly worn right down to the brass. But these are not only not worn, you can actually see the machining marks from the brass underneath, still there. I really don't think this watch had a lot of time on it. Maybe he just didn't wear it very often. He had a little bit of staining from the corrosion here, but nothing major. So, moving ahead. Okay, so here is how I test the cannon pinion. So I've assembled the basic gears. The stem is in time setting position, and you can see we've got this window right here showing the center wheel. And so what you can do, if you want to feel that resistance in there, you just very carefully put this down in there, and then you can, you can feel how much resistance it takes, and that feels just fine. And that gives you an idea of where you're at, and that's why you have this little window in here, so you can test that and see how things go, and there you go. Now I can continue to move ahead. Okay, so we do actually have one part that I would recommend replacing, and that is your day wheel. The reason being, I don't know if you can see, if you look at the central, see those ribs coming off of the middle? Do you see how they're bent down? They're not flat to the plane. This disc is made of aluminum, and those things are warped. And so what happens when it's like this has to be completely flat. Otherwise, the wheel will drag around and hang up, which was what was happening with this. And so I have not yet come up with a way to flatten these. It's just not in any way that works well. So I have good day wheels in this condition, English, Spanish, and I suggest that we swap those out. Okay, that's my one so far. I mean, considering all the parts we were going to replace, replacing one, that ain't bad. Okay, I did find two parts that I think would be better to replace. They're not terribly expensive, but there we go. This is the ratchet wheel, goes right here on top of the mainspring barrel. This one has some pitting on the surface and some hazing on both sides. And some of the teeth are actually sort of pitted. This is a really important part. I don't think we want to fiddle around. So I have a new one of those right here. If I could ever get that into camera. There's that. The other one, this is the reduction gear for the winding. You see all the pitting on the top there? And this thing went through some major cleaning, and it's still like pitted and gross. And again, like that other wheel, this one has pitting on these faces. This interacts with the pull lever. It's really important. So I have a nice one, nice new one, and we are going to put that in. So we're up to whatever, 3 parts. Okay, so here's an example of parts I'm not going to replace, even though they do have some of that staining, simply because it's superficial. These are the operating levers. The operating levers, they go in right here, and they close on the clutch. These have superficial staining and sort of hazing on them, but none of it is functional. The things that really matter on this setup are these internal faces, and these faces right here. These operate the clutch spring, and this right here, which interacts with the pillar wheel. So those are all good. No plating problems. The rest of this is cosmetic. It's not worth replacing. They're perfectly functional. Oh, well, it is the end of a very long day. Very long day. But I thought it would be nice to push on and get this to the point that we could start it running. Now, we know the balance turns freely. I've already ascertained that the train runs as it ought to. And I'm trying to do this while looking through my phone, which is kind of like doing remote control surgery. I don't quite know how that's going to work out. Yeah, because that's not where I need it to be. Hang on. Let me do this right. Let me get on top of it and do it correctly. There we go. And there she blows. The power of cleaning. Oops. Power of cleaning. Okay, let me firm down these screws. And I'm trying to do this from far away, which is never smart. But, you know, it's always fun to show this stuff off. Come on. Stop fighting me. I might have to pull this. Let me pull this over here and do this correctly, so I can really see what's happening. Well, there we go. And there's number 2. There. And there she is. From rusty wreck to operating movement. There we can see it. We see here's the finger coming around. Click, you see that? Look at that. There, the minute counter click just went over. Good stuff. And there she rolls. Back to life. You can see some of the plating loss from the corrosion in there, but you know, it could be worse. The bridge itself is functional. You've got some pitting over here, but the process of cleaning and going through, it converts rust. It changes its chemical composition, and it changes it to this black stuff. So none of this stuff is loose. It just changes the color, and it's stable, and it sits there. It's no longer active. But I also go and I put a tiny amount of basically sealant on top of this stuff, so it's not really prone to doing anything anymore. Okay, well, I am, well, let's see. I think I have the, let's see what happens here. Let's put it on the Timegrapher. Let's see what we see. Shall we? Okay. That's okay. So I've got this over here. We can see that it's running. Let's. No, I haven't adjusted this. So ooh, look at that beat error. 226. Okay, so let me go and adjust that real quick. Adjustments later. There we go. Again, this is just super quick. It has been a long day, and I am beyond quitting time, and apparently I missed dinner. So I am going to leave this overnight, and then we are going to revisit tomorrow and talk about the relooming on the dial and the hands and all that other happy stuff. But a good starting, ooh, look at that. A good starting point, and we're getting some good preliminary numbers and kick ass. All right, see you tomorrow morning. Well, good morning. Let's see how we're doing. Come on. Come on. Come on, give me a number. Come on. Give me a number. Hey, there you go. That's great. That's overnight. That's awesome. Really nice. Cool. Looking pretty good, huh? I think so. That's pretty outstanding. I'm not complaining. Real steady too. Wow. That's awesome. Always such a good result. That makes me very happy. Okay, well, it's morning, let's move on. Okay, so I spent the morning doing relooming, and that's all curing and settling. Here's your original day wheel, and you can see that if you focus just on the star wheel, which is that silver diddly there, you'll notice it's kind of pushed up. The middle is kind of pushed up. That makes it drag. So we have here is another, this is a 538T, English Spanish. That's exactly what we want. And you can see that it's absolutely flat to the plane. And that is what we want. That's gonna go right on there. As soon as I just have to firm that down and then get that in place with the spring, and I'll put the C-clip on it, and the dial is cured, and let's go from there. Something I always like to check is the case-spec date, which is January 1973, and the dial is also January 1973. And that's pretty neat. Normally, when I see these, they're from the month before, but maybe they did everything new over starting in the new year. I don't think I've ever seen a January watch with the December of the previous year dial. I can't ever remember that. I wonder if that's a thing. Okay, let's move. Okay, assembling the back of the movement, just about to put the weight on here. So this is the original weight, and you can see that despite going through tons of rounds of cleaning, it's still, a lot of the plating is missing, and it's got flat out pitting inside. These things are base metal, and I don't like to, with the slightest amount of water, once the submetal is exposed, they just start shedding material. And I don't want to, you can't like seal it in any way that's permanent that I'm aware of that doesn't also present a danger to more shedded material coming off into the movement. So let's just replace it. Doesn't that look nicer? That's what I'm talking about. So that's a dead piece right there. Hang on. Yeah, as usual. Sorry, I didn't mean to bonk the camera. Oh, would you stop wiggling? Enough with the wiggling. wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Come on, I'm moving a little slow today. That's okay. Oh, gosh. See? Doesn't that look nice? Or I think that looks nice. Okay, now this is just, I'm just temporarily putting on the back because I want to, now it's time to assemble the front of the watch. You've got to do, with these 6139s, you've got to assemble it with the dial and movement in place if you're going to get the alignment correct. And that's what needs to happen. God, I don't mean to keep bonking, I really don't. There we go. And we have this little baby. Oh, whoops. Almost forgot. Spring. Okay. Well, now I've got to click out away from this because I have to get delicate, so let me do that. And there we are. And that's how we do it. I'm pretty happy with it. I hope you were, though, and that's because yours is the opinion that matters. Here are the dead parts that we've got. Okay, your seals are in there. They're mostly in pieces because they were so hard. So again, we've got the day wheel, which you saw, the weight, which you saw, some pieces of seals, just fell on the ground. I'll get that. So we have this reduction gear with ratchet wheel. There are a couple of screws, day wheel, and weight. Considering that I thought anyway, that we were looking at, you know, train and all kinds of crazy stuff, that it was going to be a disaster, and I'm just so pleased I was able to avoid that for you. And that's really about it. Thank you so much for your patience. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to getting this watch back to you. Okay, thank you.